I want to show you how to properly do wiring. Welcome back. Today I want to show you how to connect wires, whether it be trailer lights or a radio that you're doing in your car, because twisting the wires together and putting on tape, that's not going to cut it. What's up? Today we're doing some wiring, like I said before, and short story long, I've been trying to film this for like 3 days. You want to get into the details of it? We gotta go out in the woods and find my car trailer. I got some new wires here, and I'm fixing to fix some wires. I gotta go figure out where my car trailer is, because it got lent out. My dad lent it to somebody, one of his friends, and it's gone again, and then got ran into her. Wiring pretty shot. Slowly explain it through the video, but first let's get into the meat and gravy of it. Let's get to the point. Show you some wiring. Real quick, we need a handful of important tools. A pair of wire cutters and a good pair of wire strippers. Better than these. These aren't so great, but work with what I got. Good soldering iron, something pretty decent. This is from a hobby shop. I used to be into racing RC cars. I picked this up, it works great. So now I just use it on all my projects. Solder, we're doing some small wires, so a really small gauge is fine. And you need your Flux paste. Paste Flux. Very important. Finish it off. Get some nice shrink wrap. Because that wrapping electrical tape around it doesn't do the job very good. Always leaves it open for gaps. Eventually moisture gets in. That's what ruins your day. I have this from back when I was doing the RC thing too. It's kind of a cool little crab looking clamp thingies. It's got alligator clips on it. Put your 2 wires in there. Click, click. Holds it for you. All right, so the first thing you want to do, you have your wires cut, ready to go. We got both ends here. This is the trailer. This is the pigtail that goes to the plug on the truck itself. So you want to take your crappy wire cutters and strip off the wire. Give yourself a little room to work. Not too much, not too little. Now, you do the same thing on the plug. This is the plug that goes to the truck. Do the same exact thing. Something I unfortunately commonly overlook and then kind of forget, and it kind of screws you up later, is putting the shrink tube on before you actually connect the wires. So before we keep preparing for that, I'm just gonna cut some proper pieces of this and slide it on. Think of it like when you're doing your brake lines and you don't put your little fitting on it, you flare the tube and then realize that, oh, can't get it on now. Same concept, put your tube on before you solder it together. So for this, I'll put it on the plug end, because we got so much wire to work with. We could just put the pieces of tube on there, slide it all the way down. It's out of the way and you won't melt it when you're trying to put everything together. I'm not completely sure if this will work, but I'm gonna put a larger one maybe at the end there, or maybe where I can tie everything up together. We'll see. Maybe cut it and do different spots and try to use this to keep everything together. I'm gonna use the white one to do all the wire connects because I have a bunch of this left over. We'll go with that. We're gonna get set up here, piece of the puzzle, and get them to stick up through here. That'd be great. I got the wires here. Make them all nice and straight, kind of open up a little bit of gap in them. And I like to put the paste on first, the Flux paste. Get them nice and coated, dip them in there. This makes a world of difference. If you don't have this paste on, the solder just gets all like clumpy and balls up, and it doesn't get in between the wires. It doesn't sink in properly. So put a healthy dose of that on there. Probably not the way you're supposed to do it. Nice to add. Oh, we'll do the same thing with the plug itself. Now we can start sticking them together. This will be our workbench for the day. It's trusty clamp. Oops. I guess we'll start with the white wire. Grab our cluster here. Slide the wires in together. Give them a little bit of a twist just so it kind of holds together on the spot, and that it's nice and kind of compact for putting the shrink tube on, because even if you have just a little one sticking out and it gets solder on it, solder is basically metal. It's going to make it hard. It's going to make it tough to get your piece over top. So Clamp that in there, tuck these wires under here, get them out of the way. Now we have our basic setup. Next part, super easy, almost like TIG welding. Take a little bit of solder out of here. Get our iron. Try not to burn ourselves. And then I'm just gonna put the soldering iron on the wire, melt all this stuff. You can hear it sizzle, you can see it burn. Then you just let your solder flow through the entire connection. I'm gonna be a little bit generous there because I don't want it to fall apart, and it's gonna be seeing a lot of weather, so. Now the beauty part about this clamp is that it can sit there for a second while it cools down, and that's what's gonna give it its strength. The rest of the process for the other 3 wires, it's gonna be the exact same process, so we're gonna skip right to the part where we start doing the shrink wrap on it. So it's all wired up, it's all in place, it's all shrink wrapped. Well, it's sort of in place. That's the next step, right? Moving on to the next step, gonna try to clean it up and make it look good. So I found some of this plastic wire loom. You can easily find it at your local, like Canadian Tire or AutoZone, wherever you were closer to. I'm gonna put this on it and tighten it up a little bit, make it look nice, make it look uniform and clean. And then use some trusty tie wraps, keep it all together. I'm gonna kind of loop it around so it stays out of the way, and it gives us enough room that if we use some sort of other trailer and truck setup and we need a bit more wire, we could just cut a tie wrap, pull her out. Good to go, baby. All right, so we take our wire, figure out how much of this stuff we're gonna need. Let's go from here, there. Give a little bit of extra. Using tin snips because it's the first thing I found and they're handy. They'll cut anything. Then we take our wire. This has a nice split down the center, so it's super easy to get on. Well, it can be super easy to get on. I'm sure there's easier ways to do it, but just kind of pop it through the center. Squish it in there. Kind of on there, throw a few tie wraps, make it good and solid. Start from the bottom, work our way up because this is the ugly spot. Don't want to squish it too much, just enough to hold it shut. Because if you squish it too much, it's probably going to crack open, water's going to get in there, condensation, you're not having a good day. And then finally the end. Down here at the hitch, it's only got to go from there to here. So we can technically loop it like that and then maybe tie wrap it in here somehow. Or you know what, I'll leave that one there. Should be good. And there we go. We got trailer hitch, lights, everything's plugged in. It's all gonna work good. It's nice and out of the way. If we need a bit more distance, we just cut this one tie wrap right here, and boom, good to go. What do you say, pup? So now, like I mentioned before, I wanna show you the importance of using Flux. So I'm gonna work on a little piece here. I got some wires cut up. We're gonna put them into clips, get them all nice and meshed together, and solder away and see what happens. So like I was saying, the Flux makes your solder flow and everything, so I'll zoom right into this as I'm doing it, but first we'll just do exactly the same way as the other ones. Line them up together, just push them in, slide them in there. And now I'll try to apply some solder, just like I did with the job we just saw. Same exact technique. Put the iron on top, heat that wire, and melt some solder in it. Oh, my bench is moving. So here you see the solder is going down. It's melting, but that actually turned out okay. Damn, I feel like a fool now. Might have been some Flux already on this. Now we'll go ahead and we'll dip these in the sauce. Get some nice Flux on there. Same process. Now we take our iron, take the solder, and you'll see the steam up and smoke and sizzle a bit. And then when you put your solder on, it goes through nicely, nice and smooth. So that right there is what this stuff can do.
If you can't